We're going to begin working right here at the entrance of the shop. So there's plenty of natural light right here. I can see real good. So I got a left and right side motor mount. I do believe this is the right side. I tried to put the other mount on and the bolt holes didn't line up. So these bolt holes line up, so that's always a good sign. Got the right mount on. As you guys know, his motor mounts was busted pretty bad, so we got him some new motor mounts. Alright, so if you recall, we had a ground bolt that went here. I got a baggie here, labeled right ground. So let's put our ground back in there. So when we get our motor installed, we'll have our ground bolt ready. Also, we got a crank sensor here, so let's get our crank sensor in. Of course, we got him a brand new crank sensor. So I'm gonna get our crank sensor in. I'm just gonna coat the O-ring with a little bit of clean motor oil. So I believe that's it for this side on the block. Our left side motor mount on. So I also have a bag that says left side ground. Let's get that on. So let's get that new drain plug on. You can see this thing is pretty chewed up. The oil pan's got some crud on here, this little yellow stuff. and it's actually preventing my drain plug from seating fully. So I'm gonna knock this stuff off. Don't try that at home, kids. An oil pressure switch I could put in. So this thing's filthy, so I'm gonna clean this off real quick. So I got it cleaned up. Let's put a little bit of thread sealer on it. So at this point, I think I'm gonna go ahead and get the cylinder heads prepped to go on the block and get all the grease and dirt off the block surface so we can get our cylinder heads installed. So let's go get our okay guys, so let's get our cylinder heads prepped, ready to go on our engine block. So of course we had our lifters soaking, so those will be ready to go in. So we'll go ahead and get our lifters put in right orientation. If we take a look in here, we can see an oil feed hole right here in our cylinder head, and also there's an oil feed hole on our lifter, so we'll make sure these holes match up. Here's our oil feed hole on a lifter. All right, so let's start getting our lifters in one by one. Use my pick to point directly over the oil hole, and then I line my lifter oil hole up exactly where I'm pointing at. So I could try to get it dead in there. All right, so we got our lifters in. I'm gonna remove the bearing caps. Alright, so let's get this bearing surface cleaned out. Get some assembly lube in here as well. Assembly lube on the tip of the valves. Start setting our rockers in. So of course we need to set our cams. These cams are different lengths. So let's see which one goes where. So, yeah, it looks like this one may go here. Alright, so yeah, that one goes here. Let's just wipe our bearing caps out real quick. Get a little bit of assembly lube on them. You got to make sure you get your cam in a proper position before in a 12 o'clock position. You should be able to run all these down. All right, so I ran them all down, slightly open, but it's way underneath our sealing surface, so we can still sit this head back down. And now we can torque our bolts down and don't have to worry about a valve coming out. And so I'm gonna go ahead and snug these up. Be careful when torquing these down. These bolts are easy to strip. It's just a small 10mm bolt. You don't need a whole lot of torque on them. So I think the torque spec on these things are in inch-pounds typically. So I've done a lot of them, so I kind of get a feel for how tight to take them. So if you need the torque specs on these, I'll leave it somewhere right here on the screen for you. We got one head ready. Let's move this one out the way and bring our other one up front. Hey, what's going on, Donna? This is Donna, my lovely landlord, and she's a very smart lady, and I just
Thank you, and thanks, Brian. So. And by the way, I think I would say he's one of my favorite tenants, but actually I'd say he's probably my favorite tenant. Okay, thanks, Brian.
All right, make sure you come in for that break. Okay, Donna, thanks for stopping by. That was my landlord. She came and dropped off some books for me to take a look at. She's a really nice lady. Me and her get along very well. So let's get this cylinder head set up, guys. Pull these bearing caps off. So now let's put a little bit of assembly lube on our valve stem tip. Drop our rockers on. Same thing on this one. Get the dowel pin and the 12 o'clock. All right, so we're gonna run them down just enough so the rockers don't fall out, but not enough to open the valve up. So we're gonna lift it up so we can make sure no valves open up, and we tighten it down. You see the intake valve here opened up a bit, and this one down here opened up a bit, but it looks like the valves are still sitting recessed below the sealing surface, so it's safe to go ahead and set this down while we torque it down. So of course, we want to go along and wipe any grease or dirt off on the bottom of our head as well. And then I'm just going to hit it with some brake clean. Get any potential length off of it. And we'll do the same on the other head. Alright, so we got all the grease wiped off. So I'm just going to go through and spray it down with some brake clean. Just to get all the little length off from my cloth. Just let this dry. I'm ready to. So I got 2 gaskets laid out here. I got a genuine Mopar gasket, and I also have a gasket that came with the rebuild kit, which is D&J. So if you're doing this job, hopefully this information will help when selecting a gasket. So we want to look at our gasket thickness. According to the specs, our gasket needs to be no more than 0.7 millimeter compressed. So when you torque this down, the gasket shouldn't be below 0.7 millimeters or 0.7 millimeters. So that's the main purpose. You don't reuse a gasket, even though it's sheet metal, and it may still look intact, but usually if it's been clamped in between the head and the block for so long, it would definitely drop below that thickness. So anyway, I'm gonna take my little digital caliper and let's see which one of these gaskets are thicker. So I'm gonna start with the D&J, and I'm just gonna find some point on a gasket to measure it at. See, we're at about 0.9 on this D&J gasket. Let's see what we got on the Mopar gasket. This one is at 0.9 as well. If we do a side-by-side comparison on these gaskets, we know that this Mopar is the OE gasket from Chrysler and that this is a replica. So if we go through and take a closer look and see, since they are the same exact thickness and they will compress likely at the same thickness, is there any advantages to spending a little bit more on the genuine gasket? And they'll pretty much seal. I do believe this gasket will work for you. However, I recommend the Mopar genuine gasket for the obvious reasons. This is the factory gasket, so I know it's going to fit every hole perfectly, every oil and coolant passage. For example, this coolant passage right here, if you look at the hole, it's a lot bigger than this coolant passage on this aftermarket. So it's just little variations like that that it's wiser to go with a genuine head gasket. It's easy to overlook some of the differences on aftermarket stuff. So I highly recommend when you're doing head jobs, if you can't get a genuine head gasket, then at least try to get the highest quality aftermarket and do a side-by-side comparison on your aftermarket and then the old, genuine gasket you took off. Anyway, let's get these gaskets installed. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get this surface cleaned up before we drop our gasket and our cylinder head down. So I just got this saturated in brake clean, and I'm just gonna go along here and basically degrease this surface. because we had got a lot of grease on this surface from knocking our pistons in, and so we want this to be free from grease before we put our head gasket on. And a lot of dirt off as well. Get our gasket on. Our head on. All right, so I already pre-oiled it. All right, so we got this on. There's 4 smaller bolts that go around here too. Of course, we got the smaller head bolts are new too. And these are new, and it's got some sealer on it already. But if you're reusing your old ones, make sure you put some thread sealer on it. All right, let me go grab some torque specs on this and get this torque down. All right, so guys, I just realized my camera died. I've been talking to myself for the last few minutes, but I already got all the head bolts torqued down to 20 foot-pounds, and then I went and did a 90-degree on it, and went and got our smaller bolts to, I believe, 11 foot-pounds, and then I have to come back and do another 90 on these, and then finish these off at 20 foot-pounds. So here I am, I got to do another 90. So this is gonna be the final 90. So I got them all on 90. So now we torque these down to 20 foot-pounds. All right, guys, so this head is torqued down. Let's flip it around and do the other head. All right, so let's get this gasket on. Throw our head on. course, we got to get our smaller bolts in. Let's torque our head bolts down. I got my camera plugged into the wall this time so it don't cut out on me. And first thing you're gonna do is 20 foot-pounds, and then you're gonna go back and hit it with another 20 just to make sure the head is seated. And then you're gonna do 90 foot-pounds, and then you're gonna come back and hit it with another 90. So let's do 20 just to get the head seated. And we'll follow the torque pattern as well. Okay, so we got them all on 20. Now I'm just gonna go back and verify everything is on 20. So that one went down a little bit more. So did that one. So it's critical to go back and make sure you got it on 20. All right, then the next step is gonna be to tighten these up to 10 foot-pounds. My torque wrench starts at 12 foot-pounds, so we're gonna give it 12. These bolts max out at like 20 foot-pounds, so. Now we're gonna hit 90 on these. So we'll go back, hit these with another 90 foot-pounds, and then the final torque on these little ones out here are like 19 foot-pounds. What's the score right now?
74 to 70.
All right, guys, well, we're covering good ground. We got quite a bit done. We got our cylinder heads put together, our head gasket on, got our head torqued down with new head bolts, both sides, got our motor mounts on, and the majority of all our components on the block. So we're in good shape. Wraps up part 6 of our Dodge engine rebuild. This is Brian 916. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.